continue back into what we were doing yesterday, and we were making some rhythm basses. Nothing project right now. What we also did was just update our default template. We just got some drums, bass, sub bass, very simple, and one little layer. Yesterday on the stream, we decided to just, add the layer into our default just so we have something right away to work with. We're usually going to add a layer in a song. If not, you can easily just delete the layer. So, here, we're going to go ahead and keep it as from yesterday. And it's done really good. Because Windows here between. All right. Hello? All right. Hello? All right. Hello? All right. Okay, yeah. So, continuing where we left off. So, yesterday, we came up, besides our original one, and I'm just going to take out the layer for now. And actually, we'll just focus in on this synth by itself. Right here, this is actually just the starting one that we had. Go ahead and name this one because we used the samplifier, but we had my own edits, so we're gonna commit for time. We don't need the BS, honestly. We're gonna take those off later too. Because we're going to be making iterations, whether it be a square or something else. If it's coming close to it, we're going to call it an iteration. This is the original. Because, again, like I was saying yesterday, we want that rhythm square wave sound to be as close when considering like rhythm tunes or just rhythm basses. I don't really care. Whatever it's rhythm, whatever bass. I'm more into like dubstep, trench, like sustain stuff. So I just make whatever like sounds cool. But yes, so where were we? Today we're gonna continue elaborating on our leads. Here's the one we made yesterday. And all that is just adding FM to it. And we made some tweaks to the effects. And we made a rack out of it too. Rhythm starter effects. It's the same exact thing, it just doesn't have all the automations, obviously. Oh no, they didn't. Well, either way, we still have it. Same thing. Different sound. Similar, but different. I'll just make a duplicate so you guys could just click here and there. We'll make this one the original real quick. This is our original. So for sure, kind of like taking out some frequencies with that second sound and kind of pumping it differently. That's what I mean by it's taking away like that square, you know, wave rhythm form. And again, we're making iterations because it's still close to it, kind of. You know, I think it still resembles it. It's more of like a, sounds more of like a vocal actually. No, let's just see the whole thing now. Very nice. Oh, cool. Hey, thanks for following, guys. Yeah, so we're just going ahead and continue to make some iterations. Shout out to you following. Cool, bro. Cool. Yeah, I'll give you a check out. Yeah, dude, we're just starting out the channel and everything. We're gonna be growing some content out too as well. Ooh, definitely. Good. Yeah, dude, I'll definitely give you a follow and actually consider that. You know what I mean? If whatever helps. But yeah, we're gonna try to, you know, we are gonna grow organically as well too, creating content and everything. So definitely will take along. How come it's not showing up here too? 1 second, team. One second, that came out really bad, didn't it? Man, that chat is small. We're gonna have to fix that, guys. Yeah, sorry about that. Just fixing some things here and there. So better for y'all. Alright, so let's continue. Let's go ahead. We're gonna do something with this one right here. Gonna take everything and just duplicate it. So we're just gonna work with the next area, you know, just so we can show the different variations. Very nice. Trying to get this. Okay. Oh, let's just make sure that sidechain's okay. Okay, cool. Now we're gonna mess with it some more. So, what should we do? Guys, drop in the chat, what should we do? For sure gonna add another wavetable. I feel like FMing everything is gonna sound similar in a way. So I do want to try something new. I even want to try, because I had something right here, all day party setting, all day I party. From a different, it's a different setup right here. I honestly forgot the LFOs, but let's give it a yeah, that's different. That is very different, honestly. Sounds a little bit like crap on this setup here. Yeah, see right there, you can kind of just see already off the bat. Low mids is like coming up higher than the sub bass, and like that's not good. And that's why it sounds like very like kind of old in a way, or muffled. Sounds like nasally and everything. Guys, I made the best caramel latte ever, iced latte. It's not even iced anymore. I don't even know it got hot. Let's keep going. I'm gonna shut up for a bit, and we're just gonna mess with this thing, okay? And just drop a W in the chat when you think it's ready, or you think we have a good iteration. Over here making some new rhythm bass sounds, some new layers and everything. What you got going on today? Alonji? My guy. Where are you tuning in from, Alonji? Alonji. How do you pronounce that, my guy? But yeah, dude, where are you tuning in from? Check out the fan real quick. Nice. Okay. Oh, guys, look who it is. It's my cat. My freaking cat. She comes in through the window because she's out all day. Come here. Come here, baby. There. I got her. Always comes in through the window all the time. Look your baby. Look your baby. Is this real, chat? Is this real? Is this real? Is this real? What's up, baby? What's up? She's like a dog. Look at her. Got her off. Treat her like a little construction worker when she goes out. Baby. Oh, she's like, stop. Stop. Oh, she's hungry. She wants to be let go. She's annoying. Look at the baby. Alright. 1 second, guys. Let me open the door for her. She just got inside from the window. Yo. Alright. Where were we? Let's see. Let's keep it going. So again, this was our starting bass sound. It's kind of volume matching. This is our starting one. Right, and then we made this one traditional. And also we got the layer in the background. Can't really hear it that much. The original could definitely be louder, or even pump with more distortion, but we'll see. Now, and you kind of hear like there's just like different tones and everything going on too. You know, certainly we're not gonna like just freaking like pick and choose, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, we could just do that, but just for like examples, you know what I mean? Like chop it up and everything too if we really wanted to. But this is like more of a lazy way for me. I like to like really do stuff like, you know, inside automations with the indexes and everything too, you know. And then again, also like you're gonna have to match like the volume of everything too, so that's why it's kind of nice to use fills. But honestly, that's really nice. It's very toned up. I know we did when we talked about like it's again, guys, because we already have so much set up. We're literally throwing it like the Serum sound into all of it, making small changes, and like it's making all like a whole new sound. You know what I mean? So like we're just creating like preset libraries for like this specific default template. So we're a little bit more efficient. you know, as we keep creating. So guys, I'm like shaping the sound like all across the span to kind of get kind of like equal, more of like a just like a barely like closer to like, you know, a slant. Yeah. This way on the camera, making sure it's right on the camera for you guys. So that way we're hitting across the whole spectrum of frequency really nice with the sound that we're providing, obviously cutting off the sub. And again, considering that we don't want the low mids higher than that sub, so we kind of want that like area as we go from higher to lower, you know, you kind of want it to go a little bit, you know, slope down. So My bad. I was saying that I don't think this is too bad at all. I think this is honestly even better than the original that we had altogether. So it's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. So let's see. Technically made one. Here's one. Here's two. And here's three. A layer. This is just a layer. We can make another layer. We made 2 nice iterations and a layer so far. Let's make one more layer and then let's make one more iteration and go crazy. Let's do like a layer, 8th note layer again. And let's do something bizarre with that 8th note layer. If we can. I'm gonna go ahead and lower this desk. Get this ready for y'all. Let's lock in now. Alrighty. You guys hear those crickets? You guys hear those crickets? You guys hear those crickets? Not by that, I don't mean the chat. What to do next? I really like this one, honestly, to be honest. Let's mess with it a little bit. We already got parameters set up for it. Yeah, that's sounding like good garbage right there. Not in a bad way, in a good way. So this second iteration right here for sure came out good. For sure. So let's just take off this index for now. Actually, how do you yeah, actually just put it right there. just checking, like, even though we're messing around with it, we're making sure that those low mids are not going again over the sub. And right here, okay, if some peaks like just a little bit come through, we're gonna fix that later. And honestly, the soothe is taken care of. We can always put another soothe on the sound in general, and the sub's not going to be affected because the sub's separated. So, and also it has a filter in too, where you don't even need to really affect the sub. But that's cool too, just in its pure form, like, because it's not going across the index comb filter. It's just like staying in one position with the movement knob. Even like right there, like about 24% is good of the movement. Oh, I forgot we had a wavetable set up too here as well. Let's turn that back on. Let's turn that back on. See if we want to keep that or not. And let's take off the LFO that's on it. I want to see how. Definitely messing with like the tone and everything. This one, this macro right here, honestly, to me, it's like changing the tone of the sound. Let's just see through here if it's actually doing that. Oopsies. Let's go back. Yeah, I actually want to combine these two. All right. So right now, what we're gonna do is check to see as we move across this wavetable position with our macro that we set up right here. If we just click it, and we're gonna see that the macro is set up right there, and it's gonna move across, right, the spectrum that we have it up until. That's good. So it's the actual wave length that we're going for, okay? And so Alright, so we're starting off with so we're gonna pay attention to the span. We're gonna make sure it's hitting our levels equally all together, but we're gonna pay attention to the spectrum to see if any peaks are rising as we push the wavetable across with this macro. So let's check. And then I'll definitely call this tone because that's what I'm hearing here. So let's just double check. You can already notice, like right here, we started like 421 with it peaking. See, like right there, 421, you can kind of see if the hertz right here. Here's the corner of the hertz. If you don't see that, right? 421. And then as we move this, look, I'm gonna just dramatically move it. And you see that 421 is not even peaking. It's moved all right here to the 500, 600. It's like around here now, like that wave is peaking. And then I imagine if we even increase the octave. Oh god. Dude, that's a good freaking layer right there, dude. Like that, because it's not so strong in the mids but in the highs, like that could be like a layered sound because like it just has an area where it's strong and you could just pair that up with another bass or something like that or another lead to like layer it all together. And I'll try to show an example like that too. And if you definitely want to check that out, go ahead and give a thumbs up so that way I can consider making that into a video for you guys as well. This is crazy right here. What I'm gonna do, I like this already. I'm not gonna touch anything. I'm gonna leave it. And like just this sound by itself is awesome for a bass layer. So what we're gonna do here, what does that sound like? I don't even know. I like to name sounds close to either what they're resembling or what they like actually sound like. It sounds like a sneeze, like someone's sneezing. To be honest, drop in the chat what we should name it. I don't know. Should we name it chat? Chat, protons, I don't know. Don't be a neutron. Say something up in there. Sneeze. I want to call it sneeze. I'm gonna say bless you. Maybe bless you. Bless you. I like bless you. Referencing a sneeze. Just double check. I want to make sure it's always in the right folder. Alright, cool. Bless you. Oh. And then we're gonna go back down an octave because this is the original one. And as you can see, like even just changing this octave, like look, this is filling out everything. But then when we go up an octave, you're gonna see all these lows right here almost cut off. Yeah, see, right here. And then if we go even higher, and you know what's like even cool, guys, is like you can just like you know what I mean? Like kind of just like raise it, you know, build some tension. And that's what I mean for a layer too. It's like you have your main one like going and then you're just building the tension for it, you know, as it rises, and it's going to make, you know, just like that 4 bars or 8 bars really intense. So we'll mess with that all later. I just wanted to show you guys like the potential with that though. I'm gonna start typing in these numbers. It's a lot faster than having to fucking restart anything. Excuse my French. Oof. Let's see. Yeah, that sounds sick. Yeah. Oh my god, even the disperser effect on those highs. Oh my god. Nasty. That's some soup right there. See, like, there's like we're just messing with the pitch and already everything that it's going through. And I'm not gonna go again all into this today for sure. It's not too much, but it's definitely going through some post processing. Thermals aren't doing like a crazy amount. I mean, they're for sure doing stuff. Um, I guess you could say. They're definitely just pushing the volume and gain and drive for sure. It's like my distortion plugin I like to use for sure a lot. But I just tweaked some settings on here, very low wet knob, closer to the dry, and I believe I messed with some of the stuff here as well too. If you guys should definitely check it out by Output Audio. Honestly, I just like it's like one of the best distortions I think I can go to that's very creative at the same time, you know. You kind of got to tweak the more simple kind of things that you want to do for sure, but it also has like a crazy amount of like creative things too, and that's what's so awesome about this is like we can like just throw in another sound um and completely change it. However, we would have to do some more post processing on EQing to see where we want to add, subtract, and everything because it probably will mess with it, especially if you're using the creative ones, the creative distortions, types. I'll just show you guys real quick, like all the types that they have. I want to change this, you could kind of see, throughout. They have a whole bunch, different ones for bass and everything, vocals. They have a lot. I think you can actually buy more packages made by other people. This one's pretty big. I didn't buy this one, it came with it. So as you can see, I favorited some of them. And then I did some too. So you already made some like bass whole group and everything. I think I gotta update those. But since it's on the template, it's already saved and stored. Oh, let's get that spam back in. Yeah, so for sure, we're gonna call this tone because it's just moving between honestly like the 400 and 500s. Just gonna call it like that, tone 400, 500, maybe like 700. We're just gonna double check again, guys. Let's get that span back up. Very like when I first saw master classes, and I saw a lot of people using span, and I was like, oh my god, dude, like I don't know, I was being lazy. I didn't want to figure out how to use it, like why to use it, and as time went on it became simpler, and then like it's really simple. All it is just showing you same things. The EQ is just showing you, but why it's helpful is because it could be used as a tool to show you where you need to add, where you need to subtract, so that way you're hitting all your right levels. And like as I'm doing that more and more and more, like I'm hearing better quality sounds, considering with everything that I'm doing as well here too. I'm not just making like a crazy sound and then like adding everything, it could be like the highs are like still low, but like you added so much distortion on the highs that even that you lowered them, they're still gonna sound staticky, just because you messed with it so much on the post processing or like in the beginning and then added so much post processing. So simple stuff, keep adding, and try not to fuck it up. Is the best way I can say it. add a little bit where you're adding flavor and not killing the whole sound in its whole range of the spectrum. I mean, the highs do sound high on this, but it doesn't really look like oh, that's because we had it on this. Yes, spans are important because if I was just like making the sound and had I not been using this and I just went like that, I'm like, oh, that sounds so good. You know what I mean? It does sound so good, but you still gotta pair it with something that's gonna take over those low mids, because you know then the ear's like missing something, you know, and that's why like that big scoop. You don't want to have too much of a big scoop too much in a lot of areas. Maybe like, yeah, like the 150 to 200 scoop, generally right there between 100 to 200, not taking out the sub too much because it's like no man's land technically, I guess is what I call it. Only really like neural based stuff sounds really good here and everything. Oh man, all you guys with the leveling up on Discord and all that. I love you guys. We're gonna grow organically. Appreciate the help and the offer. If you do want to help out, definitely just share the stream. You know what I mean? Start by there, and then we can kind of consider working with other brands and everything, guys, for sure. But we are gonna grow organically, and this brand's gonna launch with a whole bunch of people going in. We're gonna have a whole bunch of protons. Right now, we are in need of protons. We do need protons, right? Whether it's donations, subscriptions, followers, whatever. But all that doesn't matter right now. All that matters is that we are trying to make the most insane rhythm bass presets that we can work with, because in the next few streams, right, we're gonna start creating songs on this streams, and you guys are gonna like dive in deeper, not just with sound design, but you're gonna learn like, you know, like formation. We're gonna, you know, see a lot of like how intros, motifs, and everything is created, you know, like how to kind of, you know, go from start to finish. That's what I really plan with all this stuff here. So yeah, I'm really excited for you guys. Whether you're just tuning in to listen, whether you're learning, whether you just want to see, you're just chilling, definitely could show. Whatever you guys want to do, it's up to you guys. But yeah, let's keep going. And again, like I was explaining, this is just like this is what we're working on. So I wanted to see, right, I'm thinking that this weight position right here on this wavetable, as I surface through it, right, that's why I just named it tone 400 through 700. I'm noticing that there's a boost between 400 and 700 scaling as I drive through it, right? So as I go through this whole range right here, I'm noticing, right, in this range specifically, there is like a change in decibels in the hertz frequency range. So that's why I named it 400 to 700. And let's just see if we can confirm that visually. So let's start right here again. 400. 410. That's where we're seeing a nice peak. I noticed this earlier, so let's pay attention at 410 again. And we saw that nice peak. I'll make sure to drop a video and share some screenshots for this later, just to give some examples. Better in tune. Okay, so now we're gonna pay attention to 418 again. And you actually see there's not as much peaks and everything. It's actually moved almost to the 600 range. So let's go back and let's just confirm on the 600 range if that peak is still there. turn on. And you can kind of see from 600 to 400, right? As we go left, the 400 area is raised. And then as we go higher in the wavetable, we're going higher in the frequency range spectrum. So we're getting closer to 600, 700 raised in that hertz frequency. So like, yeah, guys, that's just confirming right there that this right here, this weight position on this oscillator is in fact serving it as a tone, almost like a tone raiser, for whatever we're doing with the FM. We're increasing the FM right here too. So definitely we'll just keep it at that. And yeah, definitely useful knowledge. Not only old streamers can get verified and partnered on Kick, new streamers can also achieve milestones and earn. Let me know what holding you back followers or viewers, chatters or subs. I help stream meet all requirements by growing real followers, gaining active subscribers, and boosting concurrent viewers. Improve your channel in ranking and visibility. If you're serious about leveling up, add me on Discord, AbdulBasit_pro. Man, I love the attention to detail that you're putting into this, and the spreading of positivity to help me grow. But yeah, man, man, girl, whatever, whoever, wherever you're from, if you're Arab, Muslim, whatever, salam alaikum, sounds like an Arab name, but yeah, I'd appreciate if you guys comment about the material and what you guys want to hear, what you guys want to do. None of that stuff right now, right? We're gonna grow organically and everything. So thumbs down in the chat for anything like that. Oh no, I didn't have my side view camera on. Oh well. I should be able, one second guys, I want to do something here. I can't link it. Interesting. Wanted to pay attention to something here, guys. Sorry about that. So yeah, the Bless You one, that was going to be the layer. We're going to work with that next. This one's going to be something else. What should we name it? How's this one sounding, guys? Let's see. What should we name it? Let's generate some ideas. Drop some ideas in chat so we can figure out a name. that. Definitely really loud. I wonder if we just mess with the volume straight in here. Let's see, what should we name it? No one is still. No suggestions. Let's see. We'll name this one Riddim Basses. Put it in the basement. All right, let's go back to some of these. One thing with this for sure. There we go, that's a little bit better. We're just scanning through them again, guys. I'm getting them close to perfect as much as possible so that way they're ready off the bat. And we have, today we have created 1, not considering this one, 2, 3, and then the layers, 4, 5. Technically we hit our goal then. 1, 2, 3. Actually, oh wait, no. We didn't hit our goal. 1, 2. This is an extra, so we're gonna delete this one later. Can I delete this from here? No, I can't. Okay. Kind of a nice range of sound. Let's definitely keep making some different things. Yeah, that was the same thing, exact same thing. Okay. Now, what I want to do is I want to test out that new layer. And so this has a lot higher, and this is a perfect match for this one. We're gonna add the speed though. Sounds sick. You can kind of already see like just how simple one little layer is just increasing like the dramatic effect of everything else. Super beneficial. Super beneficial, guys. 1 second, y'all. Where's my chat coming up from? How come I can't put it here? 1 second, chat. 1 second, chat. Want to make sure. Oh my wow. 1 second, chat. Just responding back to some messages. Okay. Excuse my ferocious typing. Yes. Alright guys, let's quickly just surface through everything real quick, and then we're gonna take a quick break. It's like, even though we're lowering the volume, like it's coming out like still so nice, and like the sides especially. Let's just check out the sides to make sure it's not like coming out. Guys, we're making a banger already. 11 is something else. Yes, sir. That is true. That is true. Let me tell you guys something. If you can see it to believe it, you will conceive it. You believe it to see it, you will conceive it. You will see it. I don't know. Whatever you want to put it. All right, let's quickly just surface through these variations. Right. Got 1, 2, 3 different setups, and then we're just gonna use the same layer. Let's go ahead and stretch that all the way out. Oh, I forgot this one. Noticing that like these two sounds could use some boosting here, but they're still alright. That sounds sick. Yes. Alright guys, that's really cool so far. Alright, so we made 2 layers, 2 final ones. Alright guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a quick break, and our goal is to make 1 more sound. Let's make it sound really, really good. Okay, we'll spend our time to making sure it's getting a little bit more of that whole range again. You know, if worst comes to worst, layering the sounds, if that's what's needed too, you know, we'll do that. But let's go ahead and take a quick break, and we will be back. We'll be right back, right? back to it. We're gonna make one final bass. And we're gonna make sure we sound as bizarre as we can get. Okay. Let's make sure everything's all good, right? No music for now. We're gonna keep the music off for now, guys. Gotta separate them on the audio tracks because I do want to record here. Alright, so let's continue. We got the bless you. Interesting. What is going on? How come I cannot move this right now? So interesting. This is like all right, that's cool. And guys, what we're gonna do, boom, make another iteration. Let's see what we can do. Form everything. Make sure we duplicate everything the same. Again, we're not making a tune, we're just making different types, right? I'm gonna put the original here. We made first, we made second, and this is what we made third. And then what we'll do even for, since we have 2 and 2, go ahead and we'll use our first and second layers so we can showcase those as well, right? And it wasn't the bless you. Ooh. Let's do that. Make sure we save the synth because we want the bless you on 3 instead of 2. Heading this way. Did we change this LFO tool to 8th notes? Yeah, we did. just raise the volume on this one. Alright, those are about the same now. We're just gonna save it again. Again, we always want to save the preset to its best. We're making this, again, the most efficient, ready right off the bat. And then this one, what I want to do, interesting. Just testing out different areas of the sound. Honestly, this one's better toned up here. And this one's better here with this That sounds better. Alrighty. One second, guys. Again, I just muted myself. We're gonna go ahead and just lock in these two layers real quick. We just made some edits, and now let's really focus and dive into the third sound right now. this whole time. Yeah, again, so we're just making this final sound. We're gonna try to make it as crazy as possible. What I was just noticing right now was that this FM knob substantially raising the volume on the sound, so we should fix that where if it's going up, it should go down. So we're gonna put it on the main. Can I not put it on this main? No. So what we'll do, mix main output, I think right here. No. I'm more than sure there's a way to do it. Let's see. Let's see. I'm pretty sure if we do macro, which macro are we doing? We're doing macro 5. And we want to we could do utility, but I think amp might work. Yeah, let's just test if it's like. No, so it's not amp. So we'll just do it like this. We will add a utility. Where's the gain? Oh, there's no gain on this? Very interesting. How did I do it last time? There was a way where I was lowering the volume. And for some reason, I can't do it. Maybe it was the direct. Direct? No. I can add it to filters. I can add it to this filter, but I can't add it to the main. Or the direct. Or this. Interesting. I'm trying to think where I put it last time. How about this? Since these highs are kind of coming up, we'll put it here. We're gonna click Shift Alt and click on it. Where is it? Right here. There we go. Go to the matrix. Actually, let's reset. Make sure it's not 0. I get tweaked out when it's not at 0. Even, here's what we'll do. Go on this game. It seems like it's going up by like 5 dB, so. This one's a little bit better. No to that. Also added to this. Oof, wrong way. Hold on, yo. I'm trying to think of what I was just trying to accomplish here besides, lowering the volume. See, that kind of solved it right there. Those little two small things. So we can kind of see in the span. those little knobs that we just had on this macro. It is lacking right here, 200 to 300. So, which we already have like a boost around here. Too dramatic. So let's just put it a little bit down below 3 for sure. Maybe a little bit more. Okay. 1 second, y'all. So that's sounding pretty nice so far. We are adding some low mids to it and gaining some nice sound altogether. I was just gonna check also how loud it was on the U loud meadness check, and we're gonna do that as well too. Just 1 second, chat. Just sending out something to someone. I like that. Sounds nice. We're gonna see how it sounds with this. This is like kind of a nice one that we've made. Again, another unintentional little variation, and it's actually really nice though. So we will keep it. We will save it. It's, I mean, like here, just for example, without it, you know. Dude, like this was like a push of a knob. Like that's just like sounding so good already. Like with this wavetable right here. Oh my god. We're gonna rename this one. Honestly, we're gonna keep it. Let's just go back to the effects. Let's raise the volume. I'm not sure. Think we should just raise the volume here, if anything. So, I mean, altogether, since it is kind of taken away from it, let's put that Alt key down. And I just feel like it's taken a little bit away, so let's just add like 2.5 Yeah, that's gonna be kind of like matching the volume somewhat. It has like better highs. The lower mids are kind of like clear. So let's just check it out right here. Also configure this one. Which one was it? No, it was this one. Ah, damn it. How many can I do? Oh no. Oh, it's called Macro 5. Okay, cool. Well, Macro 5, let's also name it. Hopefully it renames it. FM. One sec. Yo. Let's see. A little too much still. Definitely just bringing out the highs and everything. I don't even necessarily need a macro for this, but we'll just leave it. Call it FM hype. Hmm. And as I move it across the whole wavetable, it sounds really good. So considering that, we're gonna increase this all the way to 100. Okay. And now we have control here. What the heck? Okay, there we go. And then we can make an automation out of that. It shows up right away. Alright. So actually we can even like, and this is what's really, oh, we can even make a tension knob like all together. Even sounds yeah. And then forgot about the index. Guys, we're making some cool sounds right now. Honestly, I love that one the most. Definitely need to raise volume. I'm really satisfied with that. That's coming out really good. So again, everything for reference. Let's get away from all these lines. I know it's intimidating sometimes to look at them. A cost all this range could use a boost, to be honest. Let's say like 200 to 2K for sure. Let's see what we can do for this last sound, because I feel this one's like really good. Let's get back into the one we're working with. Dude, oh my god, like these knobs, these macros that we have set up and everything. And as we're like refining it, it's just like you keep discovering stuff with little movements and all that too. And like when we're gonna build like a tune out of everything, like that's where you fine tune it. So like that's why it's just like important as you're just surfacing through everything. We're making sure it sounds good, because we're gonna make this whole bass sound efficient where it could be like maybe even utilized throughout a whole song, one thing, and then you can make resample it, post-processing different stuff out of it, doing fills, stretching it, things like that off one bass sound. And maybe we can make that a goal. Let's make a song off one bass sound. Just for like considering drop basses. It would be hard for sustains though. So what's our goal? We're trying to raise the high. I hear it's showing. Right here it's showing very nice for some reason. But go to the original one. Okay, it's hitting 30 on that. You know what? I think what we did too much of is we did too much of lowering the volume here. So yeah, I think that's what was it. I think we lowered it too much. You can even still use more. Low mids are cut too much, I feel like. I don't know. I think we're gonna call that our fifth sound and wrap it up here soon, guys. We're over 2 hours for sure, considering the breaks. We hit our goal. We made 5 complete new sounds. I think we can move on to the next phase for the next few streams. We can dive into some projects and utilize them a little bit more. What do you say, huh? Yeah. Alright, guys, cool. So, we just finished up wrapping this one. Let's give it a name now. I think Riddim Roar. Riddim Warrior, actually. I think that's good for now. We can always mess with them later, guys. But look at that. We have our 5 sounds. Just check it out right now. Everything is saved. Let's make sure. Okay, we got the square wave with the cream FM. We got the original one. Right, it's all saved. And then we got Riddim Sneeze, it's saved. And then we got the Riddim Warrior. Boom. And then we got layers, of course. Save, bless you. And heading this way. Alright, cool guys, we got it all. So I'm gonna go ahead and save this for the project stream. I'm gonna let this play for a while. We're gonna tune out here too. So we're gonna make sure we save this and we can continue and we'll definitely come back to this. The sounds are all gonna be saved in Serum now, so we can load any project and all the sounds are gonna be there. So thank you guys for tuning in today. I'm gonna log off here soon. I'll let this play for a while, but we'll be back later for sure. Either I doubt it tonight, really late tonight. We're gonna call it at the end here. But for sure tomorrow we'll log back in. We're gonna get a concise schedule going here too as well. Yeah, it's some crazy stuff. I don't know if it's too much highs though. Definitely the treble's like becoming higher in each one. I don't know if it's because of the FM. Yeah, it sounds like ladies and gentlemen, I think there we have it. You know why too? I think overall the bass group somewhere here there's a freaking EQ that I did that's raising everything. sounds better now. Alright guys, we're done right there. We're done. We got our final synth. We already named it. Just save it again with the final settings. Alright guys, that's about it. We'll let everything play if you want. We're gonna tune out. Thanks everyone for watching. We'll let this play. That is crazy, guys. That's awesome. Alright, that's so cool. Alright, guys, that's it. I'm out. Have a good one.
We'll be right back.